This episode is brought to you by Allstate. Some people just know they could save hundreds on car insurance by checking Allstate first. Like, to check you have the tickets in your wallet first before you drive 2 hours to the big game. Seriously, you had one job. Now the closest you'll get to the 50-yard line is parking lot D. Yeah, checking first is smart. So check Allstate first for a quote that could save you hundreds. You're in good hands with Allstate. Savings vary. Terms apply. Allstate Fire and Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Northbrook, Illinois.
Earning your degree online doesn't mean you have to go about it alone. At Capella University, we're here to support you when you're ready. From enrollment counselors who get to know you and your goals, to academic coaches who can help you form a plan to stay on track. We care about your success and are dedicated to helping you pursue your goals. Going back to school is a big step, but having support at every step of your academic journey can make a big difference. Imagine your future differently at capella.edu.
On today's episode, we visit with three coaches and talk about the mid-season to late-season adjustments we want to think about within our practices. And I'm not talking about the time we spend or the structure of practice, but more what we do within the context of practice. We're going to take a look at individual drills. We're going to take a look at some group periods. And important on the defensive side of the ball, we're going to talk about tackling as well.
Introducing our biggest GMC Acadia ever. Offering bigger screens, bigger views, and even bigger journeys. Live your biggest life in the all-new GMC Acadia.
eBay Motors is here for the ride. With over 122 million parts, you can make sure your number one ride or die stays running smoothly. Brake kits, LED headlights, bumpers, whatever your baby needs, eBay Motors has it. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, it's guaranteed to fit your ride the first time, every time. Plus, at these prices, you're burning rubber, not cash. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply.
Our first guest is Jeremy Hawkins. He is now the defensive line coach at Georgia State. And we're going to talk about what he does to keep drills fresh and to keep things progressing through the season in developing his defensive line. So as you hit the midseason and you look at practice, and certainly there's always the focus at the end of the week of the game, but how do you make sure that you're doing some things with your routine, with your practices? Maybe you have some newer practice periods, individual periods you introduce, but how do you keep things moving along so that things don't stagnate?
You try to keep it fresh. You have your run emphasis drills, you have your pass emphasis drills, you have your change of direction, agility, effort emphasis drills. You have your menu of drills that, you want to make sure that you keep it fresh, keep the guys engaged in different drills and doing different things throughout the year. Introduce a drill that maybe you haven't been using all year, that it still has emphasis on what you want to emphasize for that day, and keep them fresh. It doesn't have to be a brand new drill, just something you haven't used in maybe 6 months. Some of the summer stuff that you may have used, throw it in there. Some competition stuff to get those guys kind of going. I kind of like keeping it fresh and having emphasis on different things for that day, and having them locked in on different type of drills that we need to get better at.
I've seen your drill menu. You have a lot of those things. How do you keep yourself organized so that you're able to maybe focus on the right things? I know some of your stuff's prescriptive. I know some of it maybe applies more to maybe one scheme you'll face than the other. How do you keep all that organized for yourself?
I think it's, for me, it's kind of my Bible, right? A football Bible. And I literally have it, just detailed with, diagram, chart, and video evidence of it from practice and video evidence from a game. And I update that every season. If it's something that I've seen in the drill, okay, we did that better during that time of the year, I want to put that practice drill up there, that tape on there now, update that. And maybe we did it better in a game, I want to update that as well. So every year I just make it fresh, update it. If I find new drills, I go, make sure I go travel and see different coaches that, teach the same type of technique that I teach, the scheme that I teach. and I learn different stuff. I'm still learning as I go along. I haven't learned everything yet. I don't think I ever will, so I try to learn different stuff so I can bring some fresh stuff to my guys. When I did my internship with the Tennessee Titans, I brought like 4 or 5 different drills from there that's been added to my Bible, and when I go visit other coaches from around the country, bring stuff back. Okay, this is a part of it now. This is how we can, include this into my drill menu and do it throughout the year and make it fresh throughout the year. So I just update it and keep learning and keep, seeking knowledge from other coaches and just keep, getting better every year with it.
Next up, we have Chris Kappas, who is now the head coach at Louisville High School here in Ohio. I coached against Chris when he was at Mount Union. He was the offensive coordinator there. He was the defensive coordinator there, a football scoop coordinator of the year while at Mount Union. And in his last collegiate year at Austin Peay, he was the AFCA Assistant Coach of the Year for the FCS level. Just has a lot of outstanding ideas about what to do, and specifically we're focused on some group periods and some drills that you can do in practice to put emphasis on things and to make sure that you're moving your team ahead and that they have some energy and juice throughout practice. Coach, as you hit the midseason point, what specific practice routine or drills will help your players maintain the peak performance that they've developed to that point, even develop it further?
I think, we're never going to stray away from our fundamentals of tackling, ball security, blocking, awareness of takebacks. But I think you can start to take those drills to the next level a little bit. So it's not just the exact same drill that you're doing every single time. Maybe you're adding an element to a pursuit drill where they got to do a block destruction in there, or you're combining 2 skills like, a take back, and then everybody's got to go block somebody and doing an interception pursuit drill. So I think there's different levels you can build off of that are going to, keep the same focus on the fundamentals and the points of emphasis of creating takebacks and ball security, but you're kind of adding some things to it that it's going to make it a little bit more fresh and maybe even make it a little bit more elaborate, that, just challenges them a little bit more, that it's not the same old thing that's just boring.
At what point in practice do you like to put those drills?
We typically try to set the tone with those type of drills because those are going to be really up-tempo, try to get a lot of energy going, especially defensively when we're creating takebacks that, we're getting excited because we got to take back, and then we're, whether we're going to take it back to the end zone and block people, or the next group's coming on, just try to get that energy going and set the tone for the rest of practice, for the rest of defensive practice, or the rest of offensive practice. We're trying to set the tone there with, this is the most important thing. So you put it first when everybody's kind of has a little bit more juice and they're not tired out. So, and then, sometimes we'll switch it up whenever, if it's our ball security lacking and those are showing up in the fourth quarter, maybe more in games. Well, maybe we need to do our ball security stuff at the end of practice when we're a little bit more tired and create that fatigue to where they got to focus more on holding the football, or even defensively, maybe we're not getting as many turnovers, takebacks in the fourth quarter or later in the game. So maybe we need to put that at the end of practice based off of how we're doing in the games and how that translates.
Hiring for your small business? If you're not looking for professionals on LinkedIn, you're looking in the wrong place. That's like looking for your car keys in a fish tank. LinkedIn helps you hire professionals you can't find anywhere else, even those who aren't actively searching for a new job but might be open to the perfect role. In a given month, over 70% of LinkedIn users don't even visit other leading job sites. So start looking in the right place. With LinkedIn, you can hire professionals like a professional. Post your free job on linkedin.com/achieve today.
Our next coach is a frequent guest on the podcast, and we usually focus on tackling, but he's shared some other outstanding ideas through the years. We're going to talk about tackling here and how he views it as we get later into the season, and thinking about practicing tackling, how it works in your drills, how it works into the way that you put your scout team together, and certainly how much contact you put on a player. So he shares some great insight here in this segment.
You're starting to, more than anything else, kind of in a rhythm. I think you're really not trying to reinvent a lot of stuff. I think the difference is that when you get to mid-play season, depending on where you are, you tend to kind of look and see like, you kind of look, in a way, you're usually how things shake out, and this is for most people. You're with an opponent, you're usually there. At that point, there's two things that are happening. Probably they're a conference opponent, obviously at collegiate level, speaking with, and probably most high school teams. You're probably a very familiar opponent. So you're trying to look for trends about what they're doing, because as much as you feel like you've been fundamental and you can kind of, you're working on yourself and you're trying to get to, they're going to find ways to leverage. Like, they're going to find ways to get things open because they know you and you kind of know them, and there's going to be some uniqueness to it too. The thing about it is, like, you start to try to look at them a little closer to see, like, start to predict, like, how are they going to, you have to, I think one of the most important pieces of that too is why we do it during the course of the season, really consistently doing a self-scout. Once you're doing a self-scout during the course of the season, you see where your deficiencies are, because you almost kind of shift and say, like, well, no, we're looking at what they do, and we know they're going to have something. But the reality is, you got to look inward and see, like, what do they see? And where are we kind of deficient inside there? And where are some areas that we have to shore up to make sure that we kind of can maintain leverage? Because a lot of times, in my experience, has been at different places. Once you get to that piece, you kind of say, like, well, why is it that we're not in the same positions that we were in during the course of it? It's just because they may have a formation, or they may have something that is what they do, but that it has a wrinkle on it that's kind of pulling you out of position. I think that there's a reality of that too, that's pulling you, maybe it may be a formation, or it may be, an insert or a fit or something that kind of shakes out to be in the line of what they do, but it kind of also is earmarked for you too. So we try to identify those, kind of predict those, kind of prepare for those. And the thing is, it's not drill work that does that a lot of times. A lot of times it's really still through scout cards and indie periods and what those team periods look like, and really making sure that we have a clear understanding about, you may be taking up blocks from different areas. So I think those are huge. And then ultimately you're hopefully in a position where you're starting to play a little deeper into the season, and then obviously play into the postseason. So you're really trying to manage contacts, and you're making sure that every contact that you have, I'm talking about like in terms of drill work, like there's going to be some heavy days that you have, but you're making sure they're meaningful. And a huge component of it too, which I really applaud, like especially where I'm at now, and really my brother in the thing, Joe Gilfetter over there too, when it comes to working with them, is just paying attention to injuries and paying attention to the weight, paying attention to the progress in there too. Clayton Tintercombe through that Army now. I worked for a marathon for years, and he had a great thing. He managed the amount of hits, because they only get so many. The reality is like, you want to make them, obviously, they love the game and there's contact involved in the game, but you want to make sure that, your managers don't have contact for the sake of contact. Like, make sure that they're, meaningful contacts at all times. There's only going to be so many times that you can do that, and before you start to really set the fatigue sets in. And you've talked about that too, and always kind of stuck with me for, many years now, 20-something years. It stuck with me just because, especially late in the season, when you're going to scale back, you're going to taper off, but how do you still get the work done? I think is key.
The one big takeaway I have from all these conversations is you need to continue to develop your players. And think of it not in terms of everyday drills, but more in terms of everyday skills. It's something that Andy Ryland, who's been a guest on the podcast before, has talked about. We can put the same drills out there every day, but the fact of the matter is that our season is going to evolve. As like Coach Dig pointed out, they're going to have some data on you that maybe they adjust the way that they're going to do things to get you to fit differently. So it's constantly looking at, how do I take these drills and apply them into the context of the season, into our next opponent, into looking at what do we have to do to make our team better. So think in terms of skills, not necessarily drills, and you'll find the drills that you need to improve those techniques and the fundamentals. Thank you again for supporting the Coach and Coordinator podcast. As you know, we want to support coaches at all levels by providing insight into the mindset and the skill set of the best coaches. We also want to share the best tools and technology that they use, and you can find those in our 10% toolkit. The link is in the show notes. Follow all we're doing at coachandcoordinator.com and follow us on X at Coach K. Grabowski.